welcome to my vlog for Team Darlington. As everybody already knows, this season is basically a write-off. We found out the other day that Royal International had been cancelled, which is such a shame, but it is inevitable. Today I'm feeling a bit sad because this time last year we were at the Mitshibishi Motors Cup at Badminton, and I was really hoping to qualify again for this year. So in this vlog I'm going to do a little throwback and talk about my experience there last year. Right, so back in October 2018, Lisa and I were third in the B100 at Bricky, which is in Dorset. It was just before the Horse of the Year show, so she'd had her clip the day before, and it rained all day. It was so windy and so cold, so she was feeling a bit fresh. Luckily she's really good when it's that sort of weather, so she was perfect and finished on her dressage score to come third, which qualified us. I was so excited when I found out I'd qualified. I'd groomed for a friend there a few years before and thought it would be something I would really love to do. Although back then I'd done about 2 B90s on my 14-hand pony Connor, so I wasn't exactly prepared or anything. Before badminton last year I was very lucky to have got 3 runs in. I did Tweezledown, Munstead and Larkhill, and she finished on her dressage score at all 3 of them. But I think it's fair to say my badminton preparations were not quite as I'd hoped. So a week and a half before badminton we were at the BSPS Winter Championships, and I had a really nasty fall off of my intermediate at the time, Precious, in the Royal International qualifier. It was nobody's fault, it was just a misjudgment of striding, and she should have stopped, but she was so genuine. She tried to jump it and flipped me over her head, and I landed on one of those hanging troughs on my back, and the paramedics thought I could have cracked my lumbar. But I found out I was leading going into the show jumping in the Gold Cup, so I soldiered on like a nutter, and I did actually qualify Lisa for Burley in the Gold Cup, despite the fact that I couldn't even sit down, stand up, walk, lie down, like literally everything just made me want to cry. It was awful. So in the week leading up to badminton I only rode twice. I had a dressage lesson with Sarah Jane Lanning, and then I hacked Lisa out the day before we left. So I was very lucky to have my mum who could school her for me, and she also took her cantering. So also that week I took myself to A&E, where they told me I had nerve damage in my back and put me on really strong painkillers. I went to a sports therapist a few times, where she did put lots of machines on me and sorted me out and taped it all up so that I could ride at badminton. So we headed up to badminton on the Wednesday morning. My dressage wasn't until that afternoon. I was really disappointed with my dressage, and I knew I could have done so much better, which was really disappointing. But because Lisa is naturally quite heavy to ride on the flat, and you have to use a lot of leg and a lot of core strength to like hold her up into her bridle, obviously I couldn't do that. So the test was probably the worst test we've ever done, and it was the test I did at Bricky, where she did it really nicely, so that just made it even more disappointing. So obviously then I was just in such an awful mood, thinking I've spent all this time, all this money to be here, and I've not helped Lisa perform to her best, and was just in an awful mood. That evening they hold a welcome party at the Lakeside Pavilion, which I didn't want to go to because I felt so awful, but my mum persuaded me to go, and I shouldn't have gone because I had a couple of pims, forgetting the impact it would have on the cocodamol I was having. So I was awake all night, throwing up in the toilet, and then my mum got up in the morning, saw me like white as anything, being sick everywhere. She's going, "I can't believe you got hungover." I thought, oh, I'm not hungover, I'm so ill. I felt awful. So up until an hour before I show jumped I was still removing my insides. But luckily my Auntie Pat had her car there, so she went to a pharmacy to get me some like stomach calming remedy, which which worked for while I was jumping. And luckily Lisa jumped a lovely clear round as she always does, so that put me in a bit of a better mood. I walked the cross country the day before. It looked amazing and I was so excited to jump it. It was big, it was wide, there was loads of combinations, lots of galloping. I thought it would really suit Lisa because she's been used to jumping Graham Barclay's courses at the BSPS Summer Championships, and there's so many tricky lines in that. I thought she would really suit the course. I feel like working hunter ponies are such brilliant grounding for eventing. I think people that just event and just show jump think in workers you jump a few little sticks and you just look pretty and like you just do workers. They really have no idea how testing and tricky the courses can be. So Graham Barclay is, in my opinion, the best course builder there is. Like, he has so many offsets, triples, he just like plants trees in the way of your line that you want to come into the jump. They're like built so precise and so perfectly. They're just so interesting, and you never jump two courses of him that are even really similar. They're so different every time you jump them. I just kind of wish I didn't live 10 hours away from the other shows he builds at. So the Desert Orchid is a class jumped on the 4th day of our summer championships. For the intermediates, which are horses up to 15.2, the jumps are 1.30 m high, they're 1.25 m wide, and there's 20 numbered jumps, and that normally includes 2 doubles and a triple. And in that there's still questions everywhere, and this is like, bear in mind, on horses that are tired that have jumped for 4 days, and people still think we jump a few twigs, and like they're big courses, they're tricky courses. Anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked there. Anyway, Lisa was absolutely faultless around her cross country. She didn't change her stride, didn't change her pace. She was just like on autopilot. She was just amazing, gave me the most amazing ride. I just wish I could do it all again, really. Just feeling a bit less ill and a bit less crippled. I watched the video and it just makes me smile. Like, she was just amazing. So after our dressage, we were right near the bottom of the leaderboard, and after show jumping clear, cross country clear in the time, we moved up to 22nd, which out of like 80 odd starters is just amazing. Last year we qualified for 2 regional finals for this year's event, the 2020 event, which would be running now, but all of them got abandoned because of the weather. So unless I decide not to put Lisa up to novice next year, it's very unlikely I'll get to do it again. It's such an amazing experience, and I really recommend anyone try and qualify for it if you've got a horse that would do it. It's a brilliant experience, and something I'd rather experience feeling better in myself and being able to perform to the best of my ability, but even still, it was still brilliant. Everybody for watching. Please make sure you give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and subscribe down below.
We go that way, over the Eclipse Cross at 18. We're just following them. Yeah, next to us up there, isn't it? And rails. Step up actually. Rails, and then over the Cotswold Line walk. Walter Tate and Amy Osborne clear at the wagon fence at 12. Lisa's Dream, Georgia Darlington, up to that cross country app at 6 before Shogun Hollow.
So we can walk across the hollow nicely. Yeah.
tomorrow, isn't it?
Take and Amy Osborne. Clear of the young minds table at 15. And Rockwood Bow and Rosanna Davidson have completed their round.
Lisa Stream jumps the beam at 8, now goes up to the air section. Lisa Stream jumps the beam at 8, now goes up to the air section. Quite an opposing fence to that Richard Brush. Jumped very well. Starter is number 249. Leonardo C. And one down, coach up, think that all clear. All set three.
Warminster way. Right. Yeah, she the place to land. Well, he's folding shit. He was having the train. You can either there's numbers separately, so you can jump from the train as well. I've got a friend in the 90s who put up a picture of it last night. They put a tree in the way of my lawn. Yeah. You literally have to poke that tree to get the right line to the 90 point.
Second go is 250. Angel Spirit. 25.1 attack, that was the leading better. They added nothing to it to the show jumping. So start the cross country in a really strong position.
Most of the bit up and down first.
Amy Osborne will look out for their provisions shortly. Meanwhile, Leonardo C. and Emily Proud near all the Spillers Skinny Fences at 11, 8 and 3. Lisa Stream through the Wadworth and the leg fences. Spirit clear of the third to the line of Sparrow. Sparrow based at Nutley, East Sussex. Event rider and yard manager at Shelwood Question. Gets lots of help too. John Keir and Nick Turner and Ian Woodhead. No wonder he's at that leading position before she starts cross country. Now jumped the Cotswold Live fences, fence 5.
Maybe down that way.